I'm Hiten Samtani. I'm the Senior Vice President of Content at The Real Deal, and I'm going to start by introducing our panelists. I'm not going to give you too much preamble on them, because honestly, if they needed that, they wouldn't be here. So let me start with Ryan Serhant, with Serhant. I've got Pam Liebman, the CEO of the Corcoran Group. And Mauricio Umansky, founder of the agency. All right. Everyone ready? Please take your seats. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, Tamagotchis. I'm going to have a quick, hard conversation with all these leaders here, and I'll probably keep a couple minutes for questions at the end. So, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things we want to discuss about brokers, agents, running a company in times like these. But maybe we should start with the most recent news and just get your reaction to it.
Can we say one thing real quick?
Absolutely, let's do it.
There are so many people in this room. Can we just give an applause for everyone showing up? Where's the hurricane? I don't see a hurricane. The news is so negative. The real estate, oh my God, look at that. No one here is negative. Look at this, it's amazing. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. And listen, we have Ryan to be our hype man. He's always been supportive, so appreciate it. One thing I want to get your reaction on. Pam, yesterday, news broke that Redfin was shuttering its iBuying program. A week before that, Open Door said that it lost close to $1 billion in a quarter. In one quarter, close to $1 billion. A lot of agents here. Let me just get a quick count. How many brokers in the room? Show of hands. Okay. Developers, investors, etc. There was a lot of anxiety about iBuying, and it would come for these agents' livelihoods. That was a lot of the concern. I think the Open Door CEO had said, agents aren't necessarily essential. So, given what's happened, how do you react? Was this a surprise?
Not a surprise at all, because as you look around this room, real estate is an emotional purchase, and it is not just about an algorithm. So as far as I was concerned, it was never going to work. It was only a matter of time. You need the agent in the center of the transaction. The Zillow, what do they call it? The Zillow estimate, whatever the hell it is. Just doesn't work. And I have a good friend who did a lot of iBuying, and I used to say to him, you're making a huge mistake with his company, because it's just too hard. It doesn't work. You need a person who knows what they're doing to shepherd you through that process.
And so, were you ever worried about this coming for your agents, Mauricio? Was this ever a thing that you were concerned about?
The concern is the perception, right? But right. In everything, perception eventually ends and reality becomes a fact. And so from our perspective, it just proves what we've always been saying, which is you need a proper advisor, you need a good realtor. An algorithm cannot make decisions for you. The computer vision, the artificial intelligence, all of this stuff, it's fun and it's exciting, but it's not what is out there. And I think that this just goes back to what we've all been saying, which is the need of the real estate agent is still super important and critical to making smart decisions, and particularly if you get a good advisor, right? I mean, we all talk about, you guys have heard me talk about the discount brokers, I'm not into the discount brokers because you have a bad advisor. It's that simple. You get what you pay for. And it just shows, particularly with the recession and the slowing down of the housing market, the importance of having a good advisor.
But Ryan, don't you think the role of the broker has had to evolve over the last 10 years, right? The market's changed, but the way that people consume stuff has changed. The way that people search for listings has changed. The way that people are influenced for what they will eventually buy has changed. So how has the broker's role changed over the time? And obviously, you've made a big bet on yourself with your firm, and this is part of your thesis, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw 10 years ago when $1 Million Listing New York first started that content to commerce for real estate was real. But Bravo would shoot, and then the show would come out a year later. So he said, how can we do that faster? And so we looked at YouTube, and then Instagram allowed video, right? And now TikTok. The agent's role as an entrepreneurial salesperson today, I think, is why so many people are getting into this business, and why they need to be, better trained and work with agencies that can help them be as successful as possible. but every agent in this room sells in a different way than I did 10 years ago. How many people wake up in this room and run to Craigslist to throw up ads right away? Right? You don't, right? Oh, except for Mauricio, a little bit. A little bit. But I think it's exciting. I think the market that we're in right now, right, it's not a changing of the guard. I think it's a cleansing of the guard more than anything. And all the fluff that's out there, like we all knew it wasn't going to last, and it's always only a matter of time. And a strong business can't just be built for growth and making money. It needs to be built to be productive and actually provide value and be long-lasting. So I'm more excited now than I've ever been.
And there's a word that has come into the market that was lost for maybe 3 years. It's called profitability, right? It didn't exist for a while. No one seemed to care about profitability. It was about growth and prestige listings. When you need to run a business as opposed to just run a brokerage, what do you need to think about? What do you need to emphasize?
I mean, you named it, right? It's about, look, the agency started, we have zero debt, we have no partners. Well, we now have some partners, but it's always been about reinvesting and just old-fashioned. Yeah. And there's been so many companies out there and so many businesses that went out, raised a bunch of private equity, really just put a bunch of money for growth. It was more about growth, almost a tech play. It was not about making money. It was not about profitability or any of those things. And the reality is you need to go back to the basics. And I think today the markets are wanting the basics. They want you to be able to survive. We're in a recession. I don't expect to see big. We're in a housing recession.
You think we are in a recession?
We are 100%. Whoever doesn't want to admit it is just not willing to.
Wait, you're using the R word right now in front of 5,000.
We are 100% in a housing recession. Okay, that is, and I think today companies have to be fiscally responsible. I don't expect you to see big profits to real estate brokerages. You know, I think if you're a real estate brokerage today, you really should be looking at breaking even, growth, reinvesting into growth. If you're strong financially, if you're in a good place, right now is an amazing opportunity to be contrarian and actually go out and grow. And I think there's amazing opportunities on the growth mode.
Which is why a lot of you are here, right? This is not your home market. This is an expansion market for many of you, right? Pam, you know, he used the R word, which I didn't expect to hear, so I'm surprised and frankly quite pleased. How do you motivate agents in a time like this? There's a lot of people who came in, a lot of the younger agents in the room, maybe came in when the market was go, go, go. You list something for 70 million, it sells for 90. You think you're a genius, right? But now, what happens? How do you keep them motivated? And let's talk about the luxury market, but also bread and butter type of deals.
Well, that's good, because there's always so much focus on luxury, because that's where all the sexy deals happen, whether it's in LA.
Sorry, can everyone hear Pam at the back? Good?
Whether it's LA or Malibu or Miami, New York, you know, we've all loved to talk about the big deals, but the reality is most of the deals are done at a much lower level. And agents can make money in any single market, an up market or a down market. And what we find often is the best agents really do even better in a more challenging market because the sellers trust them more. So it's really important to make sure that you have done, you know, two things. One, you know your market, you've established good relationships with your sellers, but also that you've treated your co-brokers really fairly and honestly and didn't act like an ass during the busy times and say, I'm not returning that guy's call, I'm trying to do this on my own deal. We don't do that. So when the times get tough, and I need to call Ryan or Mauricio and say, hey, will you come see this with me? Maybe you have a buyer. I call Ryan, he always answers. He calls me, I always answer. We do a lot of deals together. We did one last week for like $50 million, and I'm thrilled
and
to
tomorrow,
work with someone like
tomorrow,
him.
better sign it, otherwise.
I think Mauricio had an official policy, some sort of no assholes policy, if I remember
We have that policy.
Are you able to honor that policy?
It is our rule number one, and it is very clear. We've made it clear for 10 years. No assholes.
So you were saying about motivating.
So where are they all?
Listen, the market is never devoid of them. But how do you motivate the rank and file then?
So we motivate them by really trying to give them extra training on how to operate in every kind of market, an up market, a down market, an in-between market, which is actually the hardest market because that's when people sit on the fence. But right now, one of the things we are really talking to our agents about is price reductions for their sellers. And it's a hard conversation to have, especially if you're the one that sold somebody that house on North Bay Road. Maybe that's a bad example, but for $40 million, now they have to get out of it. Maybe there's a crypto crash or something's going on, and maybe you can't get them 40. I'm just making this up. This is not a real scenario. But how do you have that conversation of saying, you know, this is what it costs? And one of my brokers had a line that I've stolen from her because I thought it was so good. You know, when these properties keep sitting and sitting on the market, it's really hard to get someone to pay up, right? It's the second question everyone asks. So she said to me that this is what I will say to my seller. If you walk into Bergdorf in January and you see this beautiful cashmere sweater on sale, for sale for $1,500, and then you go back in June and it's still there for $1,500, are you going to buy it? No, because what do you think? It should be less money. And you have to teach people how to have these conversations. That's one of the main things we're doing now.
You know, you brought up the word crypto. Ryan and I were at dinner last night. We were talking about this FTX. Anyone following the FTX Binance meltdown? Yeah, I'd imagine. This is Miami. I shouldn't be surprised. Now, for about an 18-month period, there was this group of buyers, we call them the cryptocracy, coming in, funny money, made like $50 million in 6 weeks, right? So the concept of money didn't really work the way it does for regular people. And so they were coming in and making a lot of these splashy buys. Based on what's happened, a lot of people have been calling this crypto's Lehman moment. That pool might disappear, that buyer pool. How do you think it impacts just the broader market and then maybe a city like Miami where you tend to have more of those people overrepresented?
There's always wealth. You know, you said agents trade on the way up and you trade on the way down. Sometimes it's tech, sometimes it's crypto, sometimes it's financial services, or it's this country or it's that country. So it's our job in this room to be in touch with the market wherever it is, on the way up and on the way down, helping our clients as best we possibly can. I mean, as far as I can see, FTX is a fraud. And 2008 has happened again, but now it's happened with crypto in an unregulated company, and everyone just championed this thing, right? Until it all explodes and hurts a lot of people. And so it is the Lehman moment for them, right? It is a watershed moment, which will bring in regulation, and it'll be a good thing. There's still a lot of people who've made a lot of money in crypto who continue to, and I don't think it goes away.
This was a city, specifically Miami, that really embraced the whole cryptocurrency movement.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, Mayor Suarez, I think he had announced he would take his salary in crypto as well, right? So when something like that hits a city that is a symbol of this, I wonder how it's going to go down.
Yeah, but that doesn't, in Miami, and one of the reasons we're so excited about it and why we're now Serhant's coming here officially as of tomorrow.
Do you like referring to your own name in the third person? Do you enjoy that?
My wife calls me Serhant, period, to my face. We have projects that are coming, which are really, really exciting. Miami is completely flipped, right? It's not a place where you can just own a home. It's not a place where you can own a home and you can work, right? And yesterday proved that more than anything, that the state wants it to stay as a state that is great for workers, that's great for business. Florida is pro-business, right? Pro-business, come here, be pro-business, right? There are other states that just aren't pro-business, and it makes it
Mauricio and I live in one of those states.
We do definitely live in one of those.
You have new taxes now.
Could we not talk about the California taxes on this panel?
Well, we've had mansion tax for a long time. It's just on the buyer. If you're doing a $25 million deal, you're still paying 4% in mansion tax. Yeah. And it becomes a negotiable asset, right? So that's what'll happen. We can talk about it with pain. We'll go through it.
We'll talk about it. It's all painful. But yeah, it passed yesterday, and we'll see what happens.
I wonder, though, is it refreshing then when you come here and you're dealing with buyers here and the tax part is sort of off the table, the thinking about all these things, is that a easier conversation to have?
Well, Miami's amazing. Florida's amazing. It's as Ryan said, it's very pro-business. It's definitely, it's a city that is global right now, and a lot of people from New York are coming down here. They're actually living here now versus
Pam Liebman,
versus
Exhibit
just
A.
the vacation home, right? You've got people from all over the world, Europeans moving here, Londoners moving here. Like, it's actually a global, it used to be, I remember 10 years ago where it was like, a new development would sell, but then we would call it a dark building because it was all, nobody was living in it, right? Now you drive down and it's a bunch of buildings that are with lights on and people are living there and they're full, year round. And so it's a new Miami. It's very excited. We're very excited to be here and operating here as well. We're looking forward to that growth. And I don't know, maybe I'll bring a television show down here and we'll name it Buying Miami instead of just buying Beverly Hills, and we'll have some fun with all of you guys as well too.
When are you getting back on TV? Are you just past TV now? Are you like the next era of whatever?
The next, I've transcended television.
That's what I was like.
No, when I decided to start the company in 2019, I had a conversation with Bravo, and $1 Million Listing is agents running around doing open houses with cupcakes and getting in fights, which is just hard to do in my new role, and it's not what people would tune into. We're working on other things right now that I can't talk about, but I'm in front of cameras all the time. I have Serhant Studios members creating content for me and all of our agents in this room right now, right? That is the name of the game going forward. Even through streaming, it takes a long time, right, to create these shows, to then put it out. For me, it was always about, how do I build a business? How do I build lead gen? Like, past all the dancing and all the fun stuff and all that, it is pure lead gen. So instead of buying leads, right, instead of waiting for the phone to ring, how can you create organic content that generates leads in your sleep? How can you build a personal brand and invest in yourself as an agent today so that 2023 is the greatest year of your career, so that you don't wake up a broker, you wake up a brand, right? That's what excites me about the future, this market right now.
But that's you, right? That's Ryan. Your ass has been bare on national TV. That's a different kind of entity we're talking about, right? That's not the standard agent. Now, can we talk about how that would work for a regular agent who never had the advantages that you had with your? I'm not saying you got him just like that, but you worked for it. But my point is, you're Ryan Serhant. You could do that. How does a non-Ryan Serhant do that?
Oh, the focus is very, very, very little on me. You can ask any agent that's at Serhant now in New York, and Long Island, and the Hamptons where we are, or coming to us in South Florida, or our other expansion markets. The focus between Studios, which is our in-house production company, and ID Lab, which is our in-house creative agency, empowering agents to build their brands using mine. Right? So the benefit for me is that I can provide all the structure and manpower from your traditional big box brokerages, and then all of the freedom from the platforms, right? So that we can leave side to the side.
Bells and whistles or real stuff here? What do you think?
No, I think it's real. I think the challenging part, and I think you asked Ryan that, is Ryan. You know, he's been amazing and he's built this incredible brand. If we take the, several thousand people in this room, every one of them would have a different brand, but it's hard to differentiate yourself, and it's hard to create the kind of content. And I know, we try and help people create content. I'm sure these guys for sure do as well, but you have to be really authentic. And let's face it, some of us, we don't have what it takes to get 100 million followers or things like that. So I don't think everyone should get too obsessed with it. If you have something special, I have Steve Gold, who works with me, who was on the show with Ryan. He's great. He produces amazing content. But then I have other agents. They're making, they're selling 500 million a year. You would never even have heard of them. So nobody should ever feel bad if they don't get that big following. Maybe that's not their thing, but there's other ways to create a business and be really super successful.
There was a guy, I think he was in West Palm Beach, Larry Mones. We did a profile of him, and Catherine, one of our reporters, was here. We couldn't find a photo of the guy. Nowhere. There was a website that looked like it was geocities.com. It was incredible. So I guess there are all kinds of people. I want to get your thoughts on that too, because you're also a TV star, and then we'll move on to a couple of other things. How do you build a brand in this new media environment if you don't have your presence?
Yeah, I look. There's 31 flavors of ice cream in an ice cream shop, right? And not everyone is the perfect. And as Pam's saying, you fit into different ones, right? And I always tell everybody that works at the agency, you know, be vanilla, be chocolate, be coffee, be mint chip. Just make sure you're one that people want to buy. You don't want to be bubble gum that's sitting there and it's getting stale. Okay, so there's many ways of building a brand and getting a following, right? And some of those people, as Pam said, don't want to be on Instagram, don't want to be on social media. They have a clientele that has been around forever, and not being anywhere is actually their brand, okay? Then there is the lead capture, right? And from our perspective, you know, lead capture is super important. Lead capture, lead generation, how to create new people to come and follow you, and not only follow you, but to trust you as an advisor and want to work with you. You know, so one of the things that was very important to me when we did that is to build, television is super powerful. It is. But it's the bottom line. You have to accept that. Being on Netflix, super powerful. 190 countries, 45 languages. And so what was important to me in terms of building everybody's platform was doing a television show not about Mauricio Umansky, but a television show about the agency, with the idea that one tide lifts all boats, everybody lifts, and it creates an opportunity for everybody at the agency to rise, because the star of the show is the agency versus the star. I mean, there's, you know, we have stars on the show, but at the end of the day, the star of the show is the brand. And if you can make the star of the show the brand and then capture the leads and people going to that, then you can really rise everybody and then, you know, help everybody at the agency create their own brand within that.
I want to move on and talk a little bit about product. One of the advantages of having people of your level on stage is you're often getting in at the ground with the developer and saying, hey, look, this is kind of what we're seeing. This is what we think might work. This is the sort of the gap in the market, as opposed to coming in and trying to sell something that may not be sellable. So in Miami now, because you guys both made a point about this being a full-time destination, how has the kind of product changed? And let's talk about new development. Let's get specific. How has the kind of project changed, from floor plans to amenities? If you could provide any color on that.
Well, I think you've always had world-class developers down here, but I think in the past when you looked at the beach and then you looked at Brickell and downtown, it was a very bifurcated market. And I think people thought of Brickell as, you know, buy it, rent it, you know, cheap stuff, no one's really going to stay there. And it took a lot of guts for the first group of developers to build this really high-end product down there. And you've seen this incredible success with Aston Martin and the Waldorf and these other buildings that we're all seeing out there. And I think that is a real testament to the change in Miami and that people want to come here and live here. I've always lived on the beach. I've had a home here for many, many years. And my friends who didn't live on the beach used to say to me, Pam, Miami is more than the beach. Like, get over the bridge. You know, so I think that the beach is really tight. It's very hard to find things there. It's super expensive. But I think a building like the Surf Club, the Four Seasons, they redefined an area like Surfside. No, everyone used to say, no, I want to live south of Fifth, or I want to live, you know, more in the middle. But now we have people who say, no, it's too busy down there. I want to go to Surfside. So what's amazing is the developers have realized there's a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of areas to be successful in Miami.
Has the quality of construction gone up? Because, you know, the thing about New York is, let's say it's your gold standard in construction, and then you come here and the facade falls off, or everything starts crumbling. Has that changed, guys? Like, love your take on that.
Yeah, we're in pre-development on two projects right now. One is 200 units at 72nd and Collins. The other is 100 units in Edgewater. And what I've noticed about bringing buyers here 10 years ago is that everything was just white on white on white. Yep. Lots of stone or very gaudy. It's like, yeah, I know you're coming from New York as a snowbird, but we're building for a South American. That's typically who we think our buyer's going to be. Now it's changed. Now the buyer's completely different. We sold the penthouse at Arte Surfside with this guy right over here for $33 million in December of 2020. And my buyer went to that project because it felt like it wasn't just another Miami white marbled building. It felt a little more New York there, and that's why I think Sapir, when he was building it, was thinking about it. And so the floor plates are changing, right? The unit sizes are changing. The types of amenities that people want in the buildings are changing as Miami has become a global marketplace. Yep. Like, I don't think it's crazy to think about in 10 to 20 years from now that there's all the attention is on this city right here, right? And I think that's really exciting as far as new development is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it's a global city. You know, you put in top cities right now anywhere on Google, anywhere, and Miami probably comes out #1 on.
It has
on
started
many
popping
lists,
up on all the, like,
right?
the Financial Times lists and other lists. You start seeing it in there now.
Yeah,
Right.
But I think amenities, I think new development is just improving, period.
Yeah.
Everywhere, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, getting better quality. Clients are expecting better quality, more amenities.
Yeah.
And because again, they're living in particularly right now, we're in Miami. You're living in you're living here. You're not just visiting anymore, right? So I definitely have seen a big improvement from 10 years ago, 5 years ago to what's being delivered today. I mean, we just sold the penthouse over at Armani, and I got a chance to visit that, and that was just an absolutely beautiful property and a beautiful building. And as Pam said, it's moving north, and people want to be, Surfside, and it's just exciting. It's an exciting city right now.
And has the marketing then changed, Pam? Like before, if you wanted to sell something in Miami, it'd be like, here's the weather forecast. If you want to buy it, buy it. But now the questions that buyers are asking are probably changing as well.
I think they are, and listen, we came from the area of decorator ready. Remember, it was decorator ready. What does that mean? Oh, there's no floors, there's no this, there's no that. You're starting from scratch. I think everything's become more sophisticated, but it's not because, I don't like to hear, I came from New York, and I hate when people say things like, oh, I came from New York, we made Miami real estate better, we brought that. Miami real estate's been great, and Miami evolved just the way New York or the Hamptons or California or other markets evolve. And I think you've gotten different developers who are willing to spend more money to create better projects because they can get a lot more dollars per foot. Who knew you could get $6,000 a foot for a unit in Surfside? I mean, that's crazy. That's a New York number. And in the old days,
It's
nobody...
not even a New York number anymore. You're not getting that in New York anymore.
Shh. But in Brickell too, who thought $1,500 a foot would become a starting price, and you'd be seeing over $2,000 a foot. So I love Miami. I'm a big believer, and I think when we talk about the Florida market, and these guys have said it also, it's a very different market than other places. It's business friendly, it's tax friendly, the weather's great, and the lifestyle's amazing. You asked me about that.
We know all the good stuff, right? Where are the hiccups? Where are the gaps in the city?
I'd like not to have so much traffic,
Right. Yeah. And that's all obviously a function of infrastructure and transit and lack of transit.
But I have to say that I'm so disappointed that the referendum for the Deauville did not pass, because I think that was a huge mistake for Miami, and I think sometimes people just take on this don't develop attitude, and they don't really think about what it would have meant to the people of North Beach and what could have happened along Collins Avenue and 71st and in the 60s there. I mean, Steve Ross was bringing something great to Miami, and to me that was a huge miss.
In New York and very much in California as well, there is a massive pushback against wealth, right? Which is what has brought a lot of people to this market. Do you see any of that creeping in to Miami? Because Mauricio, you can't open a paper in California or put something on or look at Twitter and not see billionaires shouldn't exist. That's one thing. Billionaires are a policy failure, eat the rich, etc. Are you seeing any of that language creeping into this region?
I haven't seen it. I mean, I think it's still a. I haven't seen it. No.
Ryan, anything here? Anything?
No.
Because there is rising inequality here, right? So many people have moved in, prices have shot up, unaffordability.
That's why so many Californians are moving here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, even last year, selling all over Palm Beach, it was a more comfortable place to be, right? If you're wealthy and you're looking for a place to put money, and you're looking at assets, right? You're looking at inflation, okay? Things are actually not such a bad day, actually. The CPI was at 7.7%. It's good, right? So everything's good. Everything's good. Recession's over, by the way.
It ended this morning.
Yeah. Like I said, the state of Florida is welcoming to all people from everywhere, right? From all asset classes and wealth, industries. So it's been a great place for us to do business, and it'll continue to be so.
I just like it because I get to speak Spanish here.
Yeah. You get to speak Spanish in LA a little bit, but Mortgage applications are down 70% year over year. I think the last figures that I saw a couple days ago, roughly there. Is this not at some point going to be an issue for this market the way it is in so many others?
Oh, I think it's definitely an issue, and sadly, it hurts the people who are on the lower end of the market, and that's not something that you want to see, because you want to see first-time buyers be able to get in and buy a home. And when the rates are at 7%, it's really hard, and it drives people back into renting, and then it stops them from building wealth, stops them from creating generational wealth, for being able to buy, sell. So it's painful. I'm hoping next year the rates will come back down. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking, the second half of next year. But for right now, I guess we have to, grin and bear it. And most people think that there will have to be adjustments in prices to make up for that huge uptick in interest rates.
Has there been any slowdown of any sort in the top tier of the market that you've seen here?
Look, just being honest, that we've seen a slowdown since the interest rates started to creep up back in May, right?
Even if they're all cash buyers, they still
all cash buyers. It trickles up, it trickles down. It's just part of everybody does. Nobody wants to be the guy that walks into the country club and people laugh at. Okay, like everybody is a smart buyer. Okay, but as Ryan did say, I mean, today, great news in the morning, right? The ease of inflation. All of a sudden, the stock market was up 800. I don't know if it's still holding up right now, but, so if you start seeing the ease of inflation, and we can start seeing the Fed start easing the interest rate hikes, because right now mortgage rates are super high, and if we can start seizing that, we'll see a faster recovery. I think there's plenty of demand out there. There's still a low supply. Which is sad. We actually need a higher supply. The pricing has been somewhat stable. We actually need pricing to come down a little bit so that it also becomes more affordable. And all of that will start fixing itself. At the end of the day, when you're having a transfer of wealth, all you're doing is creating a transfer from one place to another place. And during that transfer is when you see a slowdown in volume, in transactions, okay? And then all we need to do is just take it, from here to here, and all of a sudden that transaction volume starts happening again. And then that's when you start getting that, the flywheel cycle that just goes round and round. And you can market to that, as real estate companies. I think right now it's important to be smart. It's important to be fiscally smart, and to continue to grow. And that's really what we need to do, because this market will come back. The American people still have the American dream of buying a house, and that's why people come here. And the demand is still super strong. So we just have to allow this cycle to occur.
Not everyone's going to survive, right? We've seen some brokerages, public companies, that stocks are down 80% year over year. One is down 91% year over year. There have been some acquisitions. You guys, I mean, it's a smaller company, but the agency acquired Triplement. I'm assuming you didn't pay very much money, if anything, right? There are opportunities around for M&A activity. Have you sort of kept your eye out on firms that might be foldable into yours?
Always. We are always looking at that, and we have certain guys in the business that's their expertise. I talk to two of them every 2 weeks just to see where there might be opportunities for us. We're always have our eye on that ball.
The agency is definitely on growth mode, and we're looking at opportunities right now. I think there's amazing opportunities right now, and we're very aggressive and being contrarian right now.
With your model, is there an M&A activity play at all? Are you setting yourself up for an exit at some point, or are you looking to just gobble everyone up, or neither?
No, we're 2 years old, right? We're 2 years old. We're self-funded. We don't have pressures, right? My goal is to build, maybe the most profitable, but definitely the most productive real estate brokerage out there that is grown through education and powered by media, right? That's really our flywheel, and I think it operates really, really well for the next generation of buyers and the next generation of sellers. My focus is very much on 2030, right? A lot of us kind of in the company talk about like Mission 2030 all the time. Mission 20, because it's going to be here before we know it. And for all of us in this room that are active salespeople, right? I try to lead by example with my agents as much as I can. You've got to put your head forward.
I sent Ryan an email. I saw that he read it at 1 a.m. and then he answered it at 5 a.m. That means he was up at both those times, right? Not everyone can pull that kind of shit, right? So I don't know what you mean by lead by example. Just I'm a freak and everyone needs to do that, or what?
No, I don't make it. I mean, you know, I don't need everybody to work like I do, but I've worked for people who are not inspiring in the past, and I think it's a big role for all of us, right, on the stage, that if you have anyone who works for you, even if you have a team, if you have one assistant, if you have 4 assistants, if you have a team of 60 people, like, they're looking to you or they're looking elsewhere. So you have to lead by example every single day, you know, even as a parent. And I think it's important now, especially in times of crisis, right? Especially in nervous times. I think, you know, I joked before that the recession's over. It's definitely not, right? I think this year is just about rates. I think the real pain hasn't hit, and it'll hit next year. And it's going to be really, really tough for a lot of people. So we have to buckle down, be smart, right? Be smart, be efficient, and lean forward as much as you can with an eye towards efficient, cost-productive growth.
I have to say one thing here, echoing on Ryan's point, and you asked this before, how do you advise your agents? So Ryan's very smart, and he talks about looking to the future. One of the things that we've really advised our people to do now is when real estate was so busy and there were so many deals happening, and the volume of deals is down everywhere, a lot of agents grew very large teams of brokers. And if you're a team leader now, you really should be evaluating your team. Who's bringing business to the team? Who's just waiting around for handouts? How are you paying everybody? And if you're on the team, you really need to think about what you're gaining from the team. So this should be like #1 priority for team leaders. And if you have a good manager or an advisor that you work with, they should really, really be sitting down with pen and paper to help you through this.
When you see a team that has a chief of staff, that is a bit of a red flag, right? That's a problem, right? So how are they getting?
I just want to make a little joke here for a second, but I just want to make sure, Ryan, you don't go out and say 30% in 30 markets by 2030.
Ooh.
Okay, let's do it. No.
We're going to be hearing from that gentleman just in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to open it up in a minute to the audience, but let's just maybe end by getting what you're most excited about in this market in the next, let's say, 2 years. We don't need predictions, just what you're seeing now that's getting you jazzed, that's getting you up. All of you, take that.
I love the influx of new people coming down here, and I love the, you know, the melding of the people who are here, accepting the, you know, the newer people, and just the way the culture is changing. I personally have gotten involved with a lot of things down here. I've joined the board of the hospital. I've joined the Bass Museum. Like, I love Miami. I love what it offers. I bought season tickets to the Dolphins. I go to the Marlins games. I might be the only one, but
Do you go to the FTX Arena? Because that name
I
might
was
change.
wondering if it would still be that. But I just love Miami, and I love saying to people when they say to me, "Oh, you're in Miami? Why aren't you in Palm Beach? Isn't Miami like so hoochie-coochie? And what do you want to be doing with all those people?" And then I go into my speech about, you know nothing about Miami. This is one of the greatest places, whether you live in Coral Gables or on the beach or downtown, this city is the future.
Ryan, let's go to you, and Mauricio, close it out.
I'm excited about the opportunities in Miami. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I'm excited about the market in general in the United States. I think there's a lot of opportunities all over the U.S. right now. But Miami in particular, I think that the quality of the real estate agents has grown and gotten only better and better. It's more professional. It's more permanent and real. The quality of the new development is getting better. You know, particularly in Miami, all over Florida, we're seeing the same type of thing. I love the access. I love the lifestyle. I'm excited to spend a lot more time here in Miami.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. You know, my focus, you know, isn't on building something vertical. It's on building something that's horizontal, right? And my eyes are very much on the horizon for the future. And I think this is one of the greatest times for all of us to be in this business, right? Not just because there's a lot of money out there and you can do well in this business, but we all, you know, as independent contractors, for those of us who are agents, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we were the back of the line. You know, we were the back of the line. No one was graduating high school or college saying, "Hey, I want to go be a licensed associate realtor." Now, you know, for better or for worse, we're very much at the front of the line. The power is in our hands as part of, you know, that greater gig economy. And I'm just excited about the growth potential, the opportunities for everyone in this room who considers themselves a salesperson. And who wants to do it with me? So you should go to serhant.com/Miami. You're there? Oh, you did? Let's go. Okay, I got one. Okay, 2. Boom. Oh, we can auction. Let's go.
I see a lot of
3.
waves here.
Okay, let's go. Okay.
I'm gonna take a couple questions from the audience. Someone should be around with a mic, I hope. If you can hear me, please come around with a mic. The only thing I ask is it's one question, and it's a question, please, all right? Any hands? Wow, hard to see. Who's going first? All right, that gentleman over there.
We can repeat the question.
Come. Gabby, gentleman in the nice tan coat. Question only, please.
For Ryan. You hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
You're 22 years old. You just started yesterday.
Yep.
How do you build a personal brand?
Okay, so if everyone can hear, he said he's 22 years old. If you just got started yesterday, how do you build a personal brand? Great question. We made a course about it, but that's not my answer. Listen.
No selling stuff from the real
Branding,
deal
sorry, Amir. Branding is your core identity, right? Who you are. You don't have to be loud. You can be quiet. You don't have to be in front of a camera. You don't even have to be a good writer. You can be a ninja, right? But you got to know deep down who you are. What are you? You are real estate and what? What is your and? I'm real estate and sleeping. I'm real estate and my kids. I'm real estate and kayaking, whatever it might be, right? That core identity becomes your perception that the world has of you because it's how you talk about yourself. It's how you write about yourself. It's in your emails. It's in everything. That perception turns into reputation. That reputation then turns into brand. So solving that math problem is core identity plus consistent content in some way. It can be written. You don't have to write. We do more business now through LinkedIn, through written content, than almost anything else. And you can pay people to write for you. You can leverage other people, right? Learn to use other people, consistent content, and then make sure every success you have, you don't just tell your mom, right? You don't just tell your mom. Like when I sold a house in Palm Beach last year for just under $140 million. Larry Mowens was the listing agent on that side. I tried to get a photo with him, and it was like,
just like the
worst thing that ever happened. It's like, absolutely not, because that's his brand. That's his thing. And if you want to talk more, we can talk more after this.
I'll take one more question. Yes, this gentleman right in front here.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Robert Seibel. I own a law firm in New York and down here. And my question is really to Pam and Ryan. Do you see a trend of guys like you who came off $1 million listing, Fred Eklund, the Alexander boys who just broke away from Element, of big brokers like yourself going off and forming their own brand? Is that the evolution now in the industry?
Pam, you could take that first, and then we'll go to Ryan.
Listen, I think there is an opportunity for every type of brand. Ryan started with a company, and now he has an uber successful brand of his own. I wish Tall and Oren great success in what they've done. I run one of the largest companies in New York. I love what I do at Corcoran, and I work every day for all of my agents to make sure they find that we're the best place for them, and we will do what every agent wants to do, which is go to the next level and consistently grow. So everybody has to find their place. I wouldn't say it's a trend, and now's probably a very scary time to do it. And I think on the listing side, it's a lot harder, because if you're going in to secure really expensive listings, sometimes they like to know you have the benefit of a big brand behind you with international outreach, et cetera. And then sometimes people can really drive it through personality and success. So there's place for everyone, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I did it, right? I think that, listen, my ethos is that flexibility, whether you're large or small, is the currency of opportunity, especially today. Like I said, great businesses, either just one salesperson who's 22 or a team of 60 can be born in times of crisis, right? When everyone gets nervous, who is every seller calling right now? They're not calling Redfin, and they're not calling Zillow offers, right? They're calling
they're dead.
their
You
local
can't call them
agent.
anymore. They're dead.
Right?
They're
Yeah,
gone.
they can't. Those numbers don't work. I've actually rerouted them to myself. You're calling an agent because you need someone to talk to, and until a house figures out how to sell itself to another house, you know, they're going to need access to people. And so, but I do agree with Pam that I think it's very, very hard. And I think agents do try to do their own thing, especially in luxury markets, especially in new developments, because you do need that support. So, you know, what we're working on is building all of the support that you get from the biggest brands ever, right? With all the freedom and flexibility to do your own thing. Franchise, do your own thing, be flexible, be powered by, right? Wherever the flexibility is, and it's the same thing with our tech stack. It's an integrated platform as a service. Come to us as you sell. Use the CRMs you want to use the platforms you want to use, sell with us, right? Not against us. And so my eyes aren't on competition that way. It's very, very much on the horizon.
You know, we get perspectives every year from some of the top players in the residential industry. In a good year, it's a lot of fun and games. In a more challenging year, I think the perspectives tend to be more valuable. There's a mix of enthusiasm and a little bit of caution. So really appreciate you all coming today. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for having us.